Oh, remember, you can always like and subscribe to this channel and video. And if you'd like to spend some pennies in the tip jar, link below, that's always welcome. And thank you very much from all of us.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello, hello. I recognise that face from Only Connect. So are you Paddy Russell or Peter Moffat here?
oh God. uh,
Am I calling shotgun and Chris Chibnall then? And
how do I pronounce your surname?
Wildig.
Wildig.
Like there's two L's in it, but it's one of those ones you get used to people just putting the N in there.
Well, I wanted to try and best Victoria Coren for the only time in my life.
Well, I think a few of our names, the names are going to get mispronounced as we go along. There's not least because there's a few where people say completely different pronunciations of the same player, and you think at least one of them would know the right answer. And of course, you can get away with an awful lot. Say, oh, that's just the Scottish pronunciation of it. You know, it's natural to have a rolling of that R and an emphasis on that one.
Common pronunciation up Glasgow way.
Yeah. It's slightly different when an English person does it and puts it into RP, and that's it's charming when a Scottish person does it. When an English person anglicizes it, a bit dodgy.
Hello, and welcome to this latest in the series of podcasts between myself and my colleague, Mr. Arnold, where we look at the Euro 2024 this time. And we have a special guest with us, Mr. Stuart Wildig. Stuart, some of you may recognise, was on Only Connect in the recent past, part of a Doctor Who team, and they won. Can I say several shows of the Only Connect?
We did. We won three.
Yeah, that counts as several. Stuart's also a long-time Doctor Who fan. He really likes some football club called Liverpool. Never heard of them. And he can give us our perspective on things down south. Also with me is, of course, Mr. Jon Arnold, who for the there he is. For the third consecutive tournament, I hear he's going to be really enjoying the exploits of his home nation. Insert new team here. All right, sorry.
All right, Rishi, shut it. The Euros are cancelled. We're not there. It's fine.
I'm sure you'll be nothing but sweetness and light when we get to Poland later.
I can't possibly comment.
And we've also got yours truly, Michael S. Collins, writer, editor, general dad person, and for the benefit of this video, parochial Scot. Oh, so Euro 2024. I know one of the teams that are in it, but what about the other ones? I figured we should start at Group A because it's the first one.
I like your logic.
And our hosts are Germany, who are trying to tell us that they have the weakest German team in history. Now,
didn't they try that before the last World Cup they hosted?
Yes, I seem to recall they hosted a World Cup in 2006 and told us this, and then got to the semi-finals.
I remember one particular Scottish person I know being quite not taken in by that nonsense.
Billy Connolly.
yeah, my mate Billy, really nice fella. Apparently, he used to help everyone, tidy the chairs up after him.
That's all I've heard.
Oh, I hear.
So, what do we think of Germany? No, you could say the country, the people, but preferably here the team, Euros.
Well, it's tough, isn't it? Because unlike everyone else, they didn't do qualifying. That's always the thing. You don't quite have an accurate impression of them as when the pressure's on. But I think the big story is Tony Kroos, isn't it? Pre-tournament now, retiring, last shot. Can you see him doing his Zidane in the final if they get there?
Or headbutt
With
someone.
the headbutt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Headbutt
No.
and star. God, no, he's not quite got that temperament, but he might score the goal anyway.
It's really hard not to picture them as one of the favourites. It's really hard to say as a German team playing in Germany in a major tournament, and you're saying, yeah, they might make it to the quarterfinals. It's just the instincts all go against that. And they have been knocked out of in the group stages in the World Cup a couple of times recently. But that was pretty shocking at the time, but didn't feel like a pattern of it. So I'm looking at them. I'm looking at a team that's just beaten France in a friendly, that's seemingly pulled itself together. They've got a manager now, having sacked a manager for the first time ever. It sort of feels like they're getting to where they need to be.
And I've got good news for them. For some reason, apparently Japan did not qualify for this European Championship, so they could be safer here.
Fix. They've hosted in my lifetime 4 tournaments, if we count West Germany here, obviously. First one they won. This is the third one since. The last 2, they've gone out in the semis both times. So I think that's probably a reasonable expectation, at least, that they'll hit the semis. A major nation hosting a tournament like this, they should do well with home advantage. Interesting. So like Florian Wirtz, who's had a hell of a season.
We've seen Arsenal, they've been quite happy with how well Havertz has been doing there too. After his slight sojourn to one of those clubs that don't do well.
Talent vacuums, I call them.
I'm obviously sentimentally in favour of Thomas Muller and his last major tournament actually scoring a bloody goal at the Euros because he's not managed to do it yet.
Oh, can you imagine a last-minute penalty? Would he take it?
Oh, didn't he have a penalty at the last Euros and he missed it? It's just.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to, if it mattered, if it wasn't like the third game in the group, you wouldn't want to put that sort of pressure on somebody.
No. Even
a German player taking a penalty, it feels like you're just asking for trouble.
I mean, the major banana skin, I guess, for them is that you'd expect them to get close to maximum points from the first 2 games, and if they don't, playing the Swiss in a must-win game in your last game is really not where I'd want to be.
Could be worse. You could be playing Hungary in a must-win game in your last one.
Oh, thank you.
It's always this thing, the very first game of a tournament, it's always a little bit flipped on its head. There's always a little bit of anything could happen. The hosts are playing for the first time competitively, normally in a year and a half. There's a sort of pressure on them to perform in front of their fans for the first time. The team that they're playing against normally will be thinking, this is a free hit, we're up against the hosts, and why not? Let's just take a whack at it. And I was actually in Glasgow back in '98 when it was much the same thing with France. And, you may recall or may have seen in the history books, that was a 2-1 sort of victory for Scotland. But it didn't
They
help
scored twice, didn't they? They scored twice in that game, if I remember.
Yeah, something like that.
There's a Glasgow one about that one that we should give Tommy Boyd more credit because not many people have scored the winning goal for Brazil at a World Cup.
Yeah, for first one in France for against Brazil, but it is South Korea's match that they had. That was, pretty much the kickoff for their tournament. That they suddenly people went, well, hang on a minute, this isn't a making up the numbers host team. This is somebody that's actually going to play.
Historical fact, which lingers, and this is a recurring theme here. I'm very fond of historical football facts. The one here is that since Euro 2004, when Greece shocked Portugal, every opening game of the Euros and the World Cup, both teams haven't qualified. It's only one of them at best have qualified for the next round.
Ooh.
So that's
That's not the sort of statistic I'll be looking for at this point for Scotland.
well, we are 0 for 10, so we don't really need to help out there.
Well, I was going to say I'm now mourning Germany's chances of going through. What a shame.
Well, I'm already having enough of an issue because I knew that Julian Nagelsmann is the baby of the tournament manager-wise. He's the youngest manager of the tournament. But I did not realise until looking up the stats today that he was born in July 1987. He's younger than me by over a year.
Yeah.
Welcome to our lives.
It all starts drifting away from you at this point. It's like, oh, I'm still younger than that goalie. That's fine. I could still be a professional athlete.
It's all right. I take consolation. There have been 2 younger prime ministers than me, and they've both been terrible. So I'm quite happy. My generation's done well for itself now. Honest.
Well, I will just add for Germany that I'm interested to see Stuttgart's striker Undav, who's been doing really well this season, and also of Stuttgart, it's as a defender, Mittelstadt. Probably got that one wrong because he was the first call up before the rest of the team was announced. So I thought that's interesting. There must be something about him if he's getting.
Fulkrug's got 11 and 15 for them at the minute, isn't he, as well, I think? The national side, so that he might be worth watching if he plays.
Germany, will they get out of the group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make them favourites.
Yeah.
It's Germany at home in a major tournament.
Oh.
Yeah, hopefully this will be as good as the first game of the tournament Germany hosted.
Oh. Yeah,
go ahead.
I've got distant Euro 96 memories of England playing Switzerland in their first game and it being a 1-1 draw.
Yes, Shearer got his goal, didn't he? Because he'd been talking about he hadn't scored for ages.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's a draw, but against somebody that we thought, well, we're going to win, and not as such. But at the same time, that was the first bit of the base that led to a very decent run. So it could be that they'll look at it and go, we take a draw against Scotland, and then we move on from there.
And of course, that was a group against the host where Scotland went out in group goal difference.
Yeah, I remember that one as well. That was we were 4-0 up against the Netherlands, and it was my family were watching this in just disbelief that somehow Scotland were going to make it through, despite all of those odds. And then we let in a fairly clumsy one towards the end.
Was it Clivert scored that? I can't remember. I think it was Clivert.
Sounds like something you'd do.
McCoy's got our own goal, and even as the most biased person in this chat, I will say that 1 goal in 270 minutes is almost making Greece 2004 look like total football.
Oh, you need someone as dynamic as Lyndon Dykes up front for that kind of record these days.
Well, speaking of Lyndon Dykes, the second team is Scotland. And speaking of Lyndon Dykes, all I can say is please let Ben Doak be injury able to.
Well, I was doing it. I was going through, because it's a natural bias for these things. You go through the teams and you look for names you recognise. And there's quite a few. There's Andy Robertson, John McGinn, Scott McTominay, Kieran Tierney, Billy Gilmore, Che Adams, Stuart Armstrong. They've just got themselves up to the Premier League, and they were in great form on Sunday for the player final. There have been previous things where Scotland have made it to a tournament, and there's just no names there that you'd really think of. They've not had the Welsh Gareth Bale or Giggs or big name that you could sort of pinpoint, and it's probably going to be slightly helpful because the trouble that teams that have got a big player, everybody goes, right, you do 2 men on Bale and let's see what the rest of them have got. And Andy Robertson has won everything, as I'm sure we all know. There is John McGinn's done well. Scott McTominay's been as part of a big side, and he's just seen Manchester United win something. So there's quite a few players that you can look at and say these are people who are in form and are turning up to the tournament feeling positive. So if you can carry on that'll be quite nice. It'd be good to have a positive attitude towards some of the thing. They know they've got it tough, but at the same time, because of the format of the qualification, they probably all will be thinking we just need one win, and that might be enough.
Say for McTominay, his 7 goals in qualifying made him, I believe, 3rd behind only Ronaldo and one other person who, I think it was Mbappe, someone like
Quite
that.
likely.
So it was like 3rd in Europe behind 2 big name stars.
He's turned himself into like the new Frank Lampard, doesn't he? Goal scoring midfielder supreme. Late arrives late, boom. Oh,
I do like the story from the last Euros, by the way, of the reporter asking Robbo's kid who their favourite Scotland player was, and without even hesitating, they shouted, "Big John McGinn!"
Yes.
Right too. My dad would be proud, given he's a Villa fan.
And they're in the Champions League now.
Yeah, Big John McGinn in the Champions League.
Of the non-EPL players, I do like Callum McGregor. That may be because he scored the only Scotland goal at a major tournament this century, but it was a great moment last time, and he's a solid midfielder. Although our midfield is pretty good, we've got a good defence too. It's the whole scoring goals bit that's our major issue. Even in that. The game against Holland a few months ago, we lost 4-0, but it was quite even for most of it. But we didn't take our chances, and then they've got $1 million players who could just score late on when they had their chances.
And on the plus side, you haven't got Patrick Schick in this group, have you? So
no, he's a way to terrorise Portugal instead.
Hopefully.
Being realistic, gravity in history is always against Scotland, and there's no weak side in the group that they can go, oh, at least if we beat them. So they have to be at their all from pretty much from opening moments. But I also think that in each game, we will get at least 1 or 2 chances. And the story of their tournament will depend if they actually bloody well take them for once. So come on, Dr. Doak. And if it's Lyndon Dykes on the score sheet, the sheet, I'm just going to start praying as an atheist.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's my one thing. Again, you look at them, I don't know where the goal's coming from. So hopefully, McTominay continues his Frank Lampard act. And obviously, as a fine fellow Celt, I will be supporting Scotland all the way. Why bother playing this tournament? It's going to be Scotland's. They're going to bring it home. Ali's Army, Part 2. Come on.
Well, it has been a while since we've had a Denmark or a Czechoslovakia or Greece type win, so
it's overdue.
Yeah.
Just 12th time is the charm.
11th time's the charm. I'm also quite concerned by the number of Hungarian and Swiss fans I've seen online talk about how tough Scotland are going to be as opposition. It's like...
They're a good defensive side. They don't concede many. So, yeah. If they get a goal up, it's going to be interesting.
So, do we think Scotland are going to get in the group?
Are we going to walk away alive if we say no?
Look, I've got the Telegraph thing up to help work out the permutations at the end, and I've got them bottom, so don't worry.
I went through. I put them third, and sneaking through a thing. They need. I'm hoping that they're playing a Hungary that's already qualified, resting a few players, and it's a fairly drab 0-0 till the 85th minute where Scotland grabs something, and that is enough. Just 3 points. That's enough to take them, because all Scotland have got to do is finish above what's most likely Switzerland, and then be better than 2 other of the 6. That's all they've got to do with a huge, if on that all. But at the same time, there's going to be lots of other groups where we look at and we'll say, well, yeah, the people in third are maybe going to get a couple of draws if they're lucky. I think that's the hard part, is Scotland haven't won a competitive match at a tournament for a very long time. So it's getting to that stage mentally. But at the same time, they could win the very first match and then suddenly all bets are off. Everything is up in the air. So
that would make this a really fun group.
Good.
Every match starts at 0-0.
Yeah.
And
was that optimism from you?
Oh, sorry, I'll have to recharge that one. And speaking of Scotland's last win at a major tournament, which was actually that game at Euro 96 when we beat Switzerland 1-0, also in this group is the Swiss. The team who still haunt John's nightmares of Switzerland versus Ukraine.
But I can also forgive them for that game against France in the last Euros. That threw it off. Probably the best game of the tournament. Was that day there were 3 or 4 games?
It was something? 3 all, yeah.
3 games, and they were all crackers.
I mean, we're in uncharted territory. Well, from my point of view, I'm a young one here. I don't have as many memories as you old guys. But in uncharted territory for me, in that I can't recall seeing the Swiss entering a tournament in such low confidence. Even Murat Yakin, who's still their manager, and Swiss legend, he is somewhat less popular as manager at the moment after their 6-1 annihilation by Portugal at the World Cup. Dented a lot of the belief in their vaunted Swiss defence.
I saw actually on the stats, Yakin's got the 2nd worst win rate of any manager at the tournament.
An old side still. You're still talking. Xherdan Shaqiri is still there, for God's sake.
Yep. And so Xhaka.
Yeah.
And Xhaka can.
Xhaka. Oh.
I had to get there before you did.
That one. I was waiting for that one. He's had a good season, at Leverkusen. One of the star performers. So he might be rejuvenated coming to this tournament. Don't be surprised if he does something decent here, I think.
They've also got Remo Freuler, who is the Bologna player, who...
Yes.
Our friend, Big Matches Becky, who was going to be here but unfortunately got called in by work, is cited as being one of the most underrated stars at this tournament. Issues up front because Mbolo, their striker, he did his ACL in tournament last year, and he might be back in the squad, but he's unlikely to be 100%. And that's a major blow for him.
Injury. So again, like Scotland, you struggle to see where the goals are going to come from. But if they can get 1-0 up, they're capable of shutting the shop.
The goals may come from Shaqiri, like the last half-dozen tournament.
On his Zimmer frame, as he is.
But qualifying, they leaked like a sieve. They drew with Kosovo, like after conceding a couple of late goals. They drew 3-3 with a big comeback from Belarus, and Belarus are doing rubbish at football at the moment. Just to put that into context, they were in quite a weak qualifying group, and they finished 2nd behind Romania.
And it wasn't a close second, was it? If I remember
No.
rightly.
Yeah, they got 22 to they got 17 to Romania's 22, but right behind them was Israel, who had 15.
Well, they still got their playoff, but then Ukraine came back Was it? No, no, no. Ukraine got rid of Bosnia.
Did you just mention Ukraine in the same breath as Switzerland?
Oh God,
Oh
so I did.
God.
Oh, I mean, I'd also like to point out that Murat Yakin, before he became Swiss manager, had managed Thun, Luzern, Basel, Grasshopper, Sion, and Schaffhausen, which I'm pretty sure is like one team left off the Super League bingo. We all love the Swiss. Are they going to qualify as they always do, or do you think this is the tournament that they will hit a bumper?
It's the same kind of thing as I see with Scotland. They'll be looking to get the 3 points from anyway, and they'll be looking to be in third or fourth. So I don't know quite which order Scotland and Switzerland will fall in. Hopefully, obviously, Scotland in third, as Stuart's pointed out there. So I think third is their limit. They will be looking to qualify through lucky loser type job.
I think they'll take that if that's how it comes. They'll take one win and say, "Well, we'll ride with that and do that." And unfortunately, they'll be looking to Scotland for that win and probably focusing if they do have to play it safe with the team, they'll play that as the one they want to win.
I certainly think that the winner of the Swiss v Scotland game will get into the last 16. And on a related topic, I think the Swiss will get into the last 16. Last team in Group A are actually one of my underdog tips to do well for a quarterfinal. It is a team who smashed Germany in the Nations League and some team called England. Got quite badly dubbed too by them. And they have a Liverpool star at the heart of their, well, everything they do. It's Hungary.
Yeah,
Go on, shoot. Yeah.
Szoboszlai he's had an up and down season. He started really well, got injured, and basically recovered his way through to it. But he has been so important for Hungary. I've seen quite a few videos now of proper political people saying this is our guy, this is the star of our team for the next decade. So that's quite a lot of pressure to put on somebody, and so far he's risen to it. But this is a group that you really can't have that many mistakes in. If you particularly, they could lose against Germany, okay, and then think, well, we'll win the other two. But if they were to lose against Switzerland in the first game, then suddenly they've got real pressure because they've then got to play Germany, and then they might think, well, we'll beat the Scots, but that's again asking for a lucky loser's place.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. They do play on the front foot, which I do like, and I think they could surprise a lot of people who haven't necessarily been paying attention. Is it Varga, I think, up front for them? Is a really nice goal scorer, had a good season. I think he'll do well. Adam Nagy will also bit creative, will help them. So I'm with Michael on this one in that I think they'll be, if there's such a thing, they'll be the Black Beauties, the old dark horses of the tournament.
Adam Nagy, and he's the only one I knew without looking up because of historical the historical use of that surname. They've got quite a nice team building around Szoboszlai. I mean, Salai of Freiburg, Naj, Schaefer, Kleinheiser. I like all of them, and they've got Tom Styles of Sunderland.
Mm. Okay.
Well, the thing I'll say for Hungary, so that I think is worked really well, is that they hired Marco Rossi in 2018. They just lost to Andorra. They were outside the top 60 in the FIFA rankings, and they had not won in something stupid like 7 or 8 games. They were in a really low ebb, and he's turned them into a 25th in the world, long run streak in the Nations League, qualified for this, quite the thing. I think the transformation Okay, you could say that the Liverpool player, whose name I struggle to pronounce without choking,
Shabazz
Yeah.
Yep.
It's when you can
has
spell the
played
Zs without even looking. That's a fun one.
We've
a
had a
big part in
season
it,
for
but
it.
it's a testament to picking a good manager and giving them the time to build team quality. And I think this tournament will be the one that is the breakout for them.
Yeah, it's everywhere I look. There was praise for Rossi. He was just said he's united them. He's got them playing as a team together, saying that they'll run through walls and do whatever it takes to do that. So it's, you do need some quality in that, and that might still be the bit that they're going to struggle with. But it's a team that really wants to work together, and that's so important. I think that will be the thing that gets them out of the group if they do get out of it.
Absolutely. And I think the important thing is the star player, as we said, Shabazz, who everything goes to, hasn't got that big star ego. He's plays for the team. So I think that's a good sign for them at least.
Are we going to worry anyone watching in Hungary by going 3 for 3 and thinking Hungary are getting out of the group here?
Yeah. I think they get out of the group.
I think they think they'll get out of the group.
Yeah. I think I'd have them as second, just on the way I've worked it out.
We can turn to Group B, which I've written down as the group of death. We have
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
We have 2 multiple-time former winners, 1 World Cup finalist from recent memory, and 1 super tricky underdog. They're probably cursing their luck that they're not in Group E, for example.
Yeah, that team might look a bit like cannon fodder, but that's no way to talk about Italy.
Oh God, shall we talk about Italy first? Because that's the danger zone. Oh man,
Why not?
So, as I was talking to Bex beforehand, both of us who are long-time Forza Azzurri fans are both feeling the worst for Italy here. Although I was thinking, at this point, is Italy underperforming even a shock? They've not won a knockout game at the World Cup since they won it nearly 20 years ago. They haven't qualified for the World Cup in going to be 12 years by 2026. They won the Euros in 2021, but that seems like a massive outlier at the moment.
It does seem that if they get out the group stage, they're dangerous. It's getting out the group stage is the trick for them.
I mean, it's very weird to have they're defending champions, and we're talking about them. Well, they might scrape through in third. It is there's quality in the team, but at the same sort of time, you look at it and thinking, well, you qualified quite a way behind England. You just about scraped through against Ukraine to qualify as second in the group. It's a little bit bizarre to think that they're seen as a bit of a lesser light, but at the same time, it's very hard to look at them and look at the other 3 in the group and say, yeah, they're definitely going through.
I mean, I look at the team and it's a bit. The defense is people that we've all seen many tournaments, or maybe not so many tournaments because of the World Cup issues at the moment. Or midfield has still got people like Jorginho and Barella. Up front, they've really got no strikers of note.
What's it? Scamaccia's the guy they might.
They've got Scamaccia and
he's had a decent season,
and
so has a shot.
Raspadori and Giza, but none of them are, none of them have proven themselves as standout international players yet.
That's going to be a theme. The group is, no matter how good the team is, who've they got up front? It's just, I don't see this being a group of too many goals. So it could be crucial. If they can nick one, then Italy could well go a long way. I think all they need to get that 3 points on the board, and they should do really. But their recent tournament history hasn't kind of
I mean,
isn't promising for them.
we'll probably know early doors how they're going to do because they're opening against Albania, and their second match is against Spain, who are heavily one-sided in their head-to-head in this century against Italy. And then
Yeah,
the last match is against Croatia, who have never lost to Italy.
Okay.
really.
Yes. And that includes at least one World Cup that I can think of, 2002, where
Yep.
Croatia beat Italy. There's a few World Cup and Euro qualifiers they played, and
Wow.
they've never lost the Italians. A tricky group for any team that's not in form or is maybe lacking a bit of inspiration in the goal of Algeria.
Well,
Also,
it's I think it's the toughest group to predict simply because of that kind of lack of the kind of eunuch situation up front for pretty much all the teams actually.
Mm.
So I wouldn't be that shocked if Spain don't make it through. I mean, they should get a third place spot, but they could struggle. The Italy, yeah, you'd expect them to get out third place, but all it needs, if they don't beat Albania, they're in trouble, genuinely.
Do we think the timings for competitions are all a bit out of whack at the moment? Because obviously Euro 2020 was in 2021, and the World Cup in 2022 was in the winter. So it used to be you'd have 2 years between tournaments, and that would be enough to completely flush it out of your head and try to start again, or build on it, or whatever you want to do with it. But now they don't have their most recent tournament memory will be lifting the trophy in 21.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few sides that might be, if they had a disappointing World Cup, they might be still on the after effects of that. It'd be interesting to see if some of these teams that have made it to the tournament are still thinking a little bit mentally what it was like for them in Qatar.
there's a team in England's Griffin Fact who will be interesting to see if they get over their hangover from the World Cup. One thing which is giving me hope for Italy, and that is that their manager is now Luciano Spalletti, who
Does he break that Napoli style? Is a thing.
Well, he has spent the last 30 years basically being a miracle man in European football. I have got a quick CV here. He got Empoli into Serie A. He took Udinese into the Champions League. He took Roma back into the Champions League when they were in the doldrums, and they beat Real Madrid home and away. He got to the Europa League quarterfinals and the last 16 in the Champions League with Zenit St. Petersburg. He took Inter Milan back into the Champions League after they'd not been in it for 7 seasons, and then he won the Serie A title with Napoli. I mean, if you want someone who can walk on water to try and take the rest out of your team, there are worse appointments to have.
Are Juve going to be interested after the Euros?
Even with that said, I'm still wondering if this is one miracle too far for him. And even as I say that, I remember the Belgian satire newspaper after everyone said how terrible Italy were in 2016, and then they thrashed Belgium. The Belgian paper said, Belgians find out worst Italian side ever, still full of Italians.
There's quite a lot of worst sides ever in this tournament that we're still putting through in the groups, and fearing that they'll go quite a long way through.
Again, this is some nations have that tournament experience out there. They know how to play the knockout stages. The players are used to that kind of pressure. They play in the Champions League season after season. They've played in these tournaments season after season. And these Italian players largely have that memory of winning the tournament. And that was in England's own backyard as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't rule them out.
I will say, maybe just fandom of 20-odd years speaking here, but I always feel like improve the tournament if the Italians turn off at some point.
There speaks a man who didn't suffer Italia 90.
Yes, but I didn't, did I? I came in the Pirlo era. Obligatory on the Pirlo.
He's retired.
Moving to the next team in the group, possibly a team that people could think are favourites if it wasn't for the fact that they are probably one of the most charitable teams in Europe, giving away points to silly teams. It's Spain, who could either dominate this group or give away points like they're, trying to lose an election.
Well, they are one of the tournament favourites, no questions, aren't they? What is it? They're going to miss. I mean, Gavi is about the only player I think's missing for them, really. The only
he's injured, yeah.
Key player I think missing for them. Yeah, so they're going to maybe miss him in midfield, but then you've got Rodri in there. Again, he one of the best in the world in his position, dominated the midfield for Man City. I think until Sunday, he hadn't lost in 73 club games or something like that, which does show you he does have that habit of being able to stop attacks by, shall we say, fair means and foul, and he has this magical yellow card immunity.
Yes.
So yeah, so I mean, there's a good spine there. I think Morata up front, complete troll, but scores goals. Laporta in the back four, but the rest of that squad, it's tough to know who they're going to play week in, week out, which is either an indication of depth or that the squad might actually be a bit of a mess.
Nah, the other Torres, not Fernando, the younger Torres, Olmo, Pedri, they're all going to be in the team. Fati, who's now at Brighton, seems to have kind of not done amazingly there, and he's suffered from the insane wealth of talent they've got in midfield, so he won't be there. But I feel like if I go for the Jon Arnold rule of tournaments, which is, are there goals in this team? There are bloody lots of goals potentially in this team if they play to their best.
There are chances there. Whether there are actual people to take the chances is a different story.
Well, they could do what they did at the World Cup and score all of their goals in one game.
Yeah. And that everybody would know is looking what other people are looking forward to. Lamine Yamal, who's the 16-year-old who's playing for Barcelona. That he's a winger and he's got 7 goals for Barcelona this season, and he just sounds like one of those ones that could do a Michael Owen, turn up, get a few games in, and everybody's just like, oh right, okay, he's world class. But he's one of those ones you think, well, if Barcelona, even in their current state, are playing him at 16 in their first squad, there's something there.
I mean, technically they are the current Nation League winners, so they have won a trophy in recent history. Although the jury may be out on how big a trophy you think that is or not.
Is there an actual trophy for the Nations League? I'm not sure.
There is actually, but I mean, I've always been a fan of the tournament since it got Scotland to the last Euros by the playoffs. they have recent form. Although I was looking at their manager, who I didn't really know much about, Luis de Levante. He spent a decade in their youth system, building up their under 21s and under 19 teams. And he's quite a controversial figure because he supported their FA president, who recently had to resign in controversial circumstances.
Yeah.
And has since been charged, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, which makes me think he's a older football manager. He's slightly controversial because of his stance on things in public, and he spent a long time working in the youth setup. Luis Aragonés Mark II. It worked for them in the 2008.
And again, a good passing side who maybe just bolt a striker on the top just to get the goals. There's worse ideas.
What do we think of Morata?
It's like Totti or Inzaghi back in the day, isn't it? Just one of those annoying strikers who just keeps popping up at the worst possible time. So he's a good striker, but he's not great. I would say he's got goals there, but he's very much up and down for me.
Yeah, it's if the manager can see that he's hitting his form, if they, the warm-ups and the practice matches, he might well be the one that he looks at and goes, "Yep, you're about to hit form." There are so many players like this that I was looking at and thinking, if you hit your stride, you could be transformational. If you don't, and they're stuck with you, you might be the one that sinks the team because you cannot, you need somebody who's going to put the ball in the back of the net, and it's a tricky one to say, yep, that's who they've got.
Yeah, I think it's times wide open. Someone like a Skilacci, who was not well known before that tournament, came in top scorer and made his reputation. I think that this tournament could see someone come through. Someone has to be the hero here.
They scored 25 goals in their 8 games, and they only had 1 defeat. Michael?
I don't know who that was to. Ask Rodri, he's still not got over it.
Yeah, that was. He was not very sporting about that. I quite enjoyed seeing him being on the other side of the huff.
Yeah, it was almost like he's treated himself like an aristocrat, wasn't it? It's how dare these peasants actually challenge us?
Spain, group of death, victim, or last 16 qualifiers?
Yeah, I put them down as top of the group.
I think top of the group, but if they don't take the chances in now the opposition's high quality then qualifying, apart from Scotland, obviously, because no one else who they play will be of that quality. Yeah, I would, as a standard group, I'd expect them to go through here easily and win it.
The fact that they're playing Italy, who they have a good record against, and they're also playing Croatia, who they've got a decent record against. It is time to talk about the Dad's Army team of the tournament, which is Croatia.
Dad's Army. Luka Modric is Granddad's Army, frankly.
And much to my shock, Zlatko Dalek is still in charge of the team from the last 3 tournaments, although they have done well at them, all 3 of them. So I have to ask you, are we going to witness the Dalek master plan?
Hey! Yes, the power of the Daleks will come into play here.
Oh, I mean, it surprises me, even though I've watched most of the tournaments they've been at, to remember that Croatia have never won a European Championship knockout game in their history.
Yeah, because it's the World Cup that they've done well at.
They've done well at the World Cups, but at the Euros, 96, I think they went out in the quarterfinals, so lost there. 2000, group stage didn't qualify. 2004, England knocked them out in the group stage. 2008, Turkey knocked them out in a very dramatic penalty shootout. 2012, group stage Spain. 2016, go extra time goal to Portugal, who went on to win the bloody thing. And last time they had that insane 5-3 match with Spain, but that was another loss.
Yeah, that was the other one of the other games on that 3-0 France and Switzerland day, wasn't it? Yeah.
They have yet to win a knockout game at the Euros, which is insane for a team who do so well at the World Cup.
Don't think this is the time they're going to change that. Did you watch the FA Cup final and see Wayne Rooney there?
Yes.
So we saw them thinking, yep, hair transplants, you can't actually always get what you want. And you think, you're going to Plymouth, are you? Okay, well, good luck with that. Wayne Rooney is younger than Modric.
So real, isn't it?
It is genuinely astonishing. You got Perisic is 35, Domagoj Vida is 35. They are old. They really, really are old. And, there is holding back the years, and then there's just, we have nobody else to play. And this feels like the latter bit of it.
I mean,
so Michael, is Modric younger than you, or is he older?
I think he's a bit older.
There you go.
He's 38.
No, wait.
30.
He's 38, born in February.
Oh, there you go. Older then, I think.
Than just.
Hey, so there you go. You're still young while there's a player at a tournament. So,
goodness.
Oh, there's an older player coming.
Well, Zlatko Dalic was asked recently what his aim for the tournament was, and despite them getting to the semi-finals of the last World Cup and the final of the one before, he said that his goal is to get out of the group, which sounds really optimistic. I think the weird issue for them is goals, because they've always been a team of amazing midfielders. And they still have Modric and Brozovic and Kovacic. And Perisic, I think he might be in the team, but he's coming off an injury. The younger,
he's still in the squad, I believe.
They have Mayer of Wolfsburg, who's slightly younger, but he's still in his mid-20s now.
Mere babe in arms.
Yes, but I mean, I think one of the best players in the squad who surmises their issue is the Premier of Osasuna. He scored a whole bunch of goals for Osasuna this season, but he can't seemingly score for love nor money for the national team. They have trouble getting their in-form strikers actually reproducing it for the national team. And so that leaves them reliant on their aging midfield.
Is that a case of their style just doesn't suit the strikers that they produce?
I don't know, because it's been going on for a long time. I mean, I think back to when I got into European football, and you had like Ivan Klasnic doing really well in Champions League football, and he never seemed to get the goals at the national level. Admittedly, he became quite sick for a time, made a comeback, but he never had the big breakthrough there that you'd have expected from the man who was firing them all over Europe in the Champions League. Croatia are a curious one.
But I think the question here, though, is Guardiola their biggest goal-scoring threat right now?
Biggest goal-scoring threat, and biggest they need them on top of their game to stop other people scoring and keep them.
Absolutely.
He had an amazing World Cup, although he was completely skinned at his boots by Messi, but that was more a side of how great Messi was than any knock on. So Croatia, I mean, this is almost a fool's game, but Are they going to make it?
I couldn't call between Croatia and Italy for second because they've got that similar issue of are they going to score the goals? I think it just comes down to who can take the chances.
I've
It's
gone a little bit radical with this. I've actually put Croatia last. I think they're going to finish fourth, which come on to with the next team. But I think it's going to be one of those ones that they've just run their race, and you could clearly see some of their players were struggling. They scored 12 goals in qualification, so that's less than half of what Spain scored, and we're worried about how many goals Spain would get. That's a worrying sign if you're that goal shy at it, and you're in the group of death, and that's an extra pressure that's on you. I think that Albania might be able to come in a bit fresher, we have nothing to lose here, and get one win. That would be enough.
I feel like Croatia they're going to have to get something. They're going to have to beat Albania in the middle game to have a chance, I think. That doesn't end in a Croatian win, then I think they're in a whole lot of trouble. And speaking of Team 4 in this group, we come to Albania, who are in fact the team with a top scorer, Rehmani, who had 18 goals for Sivasspor in the Turkish league, when they just missed out in the Europa League this season. So the Albania, of all teams, actually have an informed striker.
which makes it interesting.
I mean, I can't pretend to know that scoring a whole bunch of goals in the Turkish league means that you're going to score against Spain, Italy, and Croatia. But let's put that hypothetical potential up there.
Yeah. Well, would it horrify you if I told you that Albania also only scored 12 in the qualification, but they only conceded 4.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they go 1-0 up, they quite like to hold that 1-0.
Admittedly, they did have quite a weak qualifying group, and the Czechs underperformed. Moldova nearly qualified. Poland did their best to not qualify. Albania finished top, and it was not a group of great goals and excitement. It was get through and ask questions later. But then again, this is only their second qualification for any major tournament ever, so fair's fair and all that.
Yeah,
I was interested to see that their manager is Silvino, the former Arsenal player.
Yes, I looked at it. What?
And he cited that he intends to be more attack-minded and play more expansive football. And I was thinking, in this group, well, hats off to you.
It's a brave call. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. But if it pays off, we'll be talking about it from now on.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I suppose you've got to try. You've got to. You are fundamentally the lowest seeded team in the group. Why not be brave? What are you going to lose?
Yeah. Alternatively, you could lose to Italy and then do a full-on change of tack, just pull the shutters down, because most of these managers are fairly realistic. They'll go to the tournament and they'll say, I want to be positive, direct, attacking, exciting, and ultimately he probably will be all right, win, lose or draw, but if he gets through the group, then that's him in a job for 4 years.
I think one of the issues for them is that Broja of Fulham, who'd have been a proper player for them, he did his ACL in, and I think he might be in the team, but again, ACL comeback, not going to be what he
Takes
was.
a while.
But Islani, their midfielder, has played a fair bit for Inter this season. So there's a key player in a big team this year. They they seem like they've got far more experience and sort of quality than they had in their debut 8 years ago. But they're also in a much tougher group.
Yeah. 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 Okay. It's goals. Like this group. It'll be a group of few goals, and it'll just be. I think it's the one that is the. I think where our predictions could go the wackiest. So Stu might well be right on this. that Albania will make it through. That Croatia will go out. But yeah. I mean, if I'll to go attacking, I really hope they get their rewards on this.
So yes, John, Albania, yay or nay, qualifying last 16.
I don't quite think so. It's just a lot of teams here with tournament experience. I think that that might be a little too streetwise, particularly if Slovenia does go for the attacking thing. But as a Liverpool fan, I've just had 8 years of if you go for it, you can do it. So I don't think they will, but I really do hope they do.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've got them in third, and I've got them going through as a thing. I think they're going to get a result from one of the games.
I think they're going to be one of the unfortunate two who are finished third, but in the worst spots. And if you think of that, then yes, I think that Albania will go out here, but they're going to be kingmakers. They're going to knock someone out of the group of death with them. And I feel it's going to be Italy, but I'm open for other suggestions where Italy qualify and it's actually Croatia instead. Sorry, Croatian fans.